Hi guys, welcome back to the shop. Hey, today I've got just a couple little tasks I need to do. They all take some time, but this is all stuff we need to do in order to get to the buildup of the engine. Uh, I'm going to lap the cylinder head and the cylinder, and I'm also going to make some uh, flywheel nuts, or one nut probably, and some flywheel washers. And I've already made some head washers, head bolt washers. Uh, I just, you know, Yamaha wants for the long nut, these right here, uh, almost $6 for these, and I get that. But the washer that goes underneath it, right here, they want almost $6 for. So I'm making my own washers, and I think I'll be able to reuse the nuts, but I'm going to have to plate them. And of course, I'll have to plate the washers, and I've got some other items that I need to plate too. And that'll all be zinc plating or cadmium plating. But right now, I just I want to start on the building the magneto nut. It's kind of a special thing. These here are kind of like hen's teeth to get, and if you can find them, they're very expensive, but they're not that hard to make. And the washer that goes with them, same thing. Let me get you overhead here a little bit, and I'll just show you a little closer what I'm dealing with. Okay, this is the nut that I have some of these, but I need to make some anyway, so I'm just going to make a couple. And this is the washer that we'll also make. Like I say, these are really hard to come by, and if you do come by them, they're pretty expensive. I think I paid 25 bucks for a pair of these, a washer and a nut off of eBay. I don't know, a year or so ago, and all it is, they go right here. It's just a special little nut to hold this internal rotor down. And it's just not that hard to make them, and it's the aggravation, I think, of the price more than anything is my problem. Here is the washers. I had a couple of them here that are probably okay, but these here are really uh, they've been rusted away pretty good. So I made these up last night, and they're just it's just not that hard to do. I probably have a half hour in making these four washers, and yeah, I guess if you looked at a half hour, however much money you make it work, uh, that it might be better off to buy them. But I don't know. The nut, like I said, I think it's like $5.99, and these things are $5.45, I think, through Rocky Mountain. And they're just it's Yamaha's price. They actually give you a pretty good price. So is Partzilla. So it's it's just a money thing to me that why in the world are they charging as much for this and that? Anyhow, I've got these made, so all I've got to do is plate those, and this is what we're going to work on right now. And then we're going to lap the cylinder here and the head to make sure everything is free of warpage. Now these aren't too hard to make, like I said. If you measure across the widest part, you're at 0.989 or 988 inches, and a stick of coal roll is 0.998. So you're looking at 10 thousandths that has to come off the outside, so that cleans that up nicely. Then we're going to drill a what is this, 27 64ths. We'll drill a hole up the middle of it, and that's for our 12 millimeter 125 threads. So we'll trim the top, then we'll drill a hole, we'll thread it, and then we'll start taking down this portion, and this here will fit in a collet on the mill, and then we'll just go ahead and cut these flats, and I'll show you that when we get to it. It's I've got a little adapter that makes it real easy. So when we get there, you'll see what I'm talking about on that. So let's get over to the lathe. Okay, I've got this, this is 1 inch coal roll. I think we measured it at 0.998, and we've got to take off approximately 10 thousandths. I'm just going to take my first cut along here, skim cut, see where I am, kind of set up for my dimension that I need to cut to. So this will be the first pass, and it may not take off much. Gotta have kind of a starting point. I don't know, that might be enough. I better check that. It looks like it might be almost good, if not a little too much. Yeah, it's a little too much. It's at 986, and we need to go to 988, I think, if I remember right. Oh no, we're all right. $990. Okay, should be able to get that with that one, I think. Okay, we've got our finished outside dimension there. And I think I'll just go ahead and drill the hole now. Got a hole already started in there from something. It's a little smaller though, so it should be okay. I've got several of these ignition systems, so I just want to have enough nuts for all the ones I've got, so that when I get ready to put them on something, I don't have to stop and do this. Okay, we've got our hole drilled there. I'm just going to start the tap, and I'm not going to power tap it. I'm just going to start it, and it'll actually slip in the chuck, but it gives me a good starting point to make sure everything stays straight. Let me move this over to my low speed here. And I'll probably have to finish the tapping after I get the hex on it and get the nut finished. Okay. All right, I've just got a crescent wrench over here on my chuck, and I put some Tap Magic in the bore there. We've got a kind of start of it there. And that way I can just go ahead and tap this like I usually would. Except that's going to want to fall off. Yep. Maybe that way it'll stay. Gotta clear that once in a while. That's only one, huh? Alright, let me figure this out. Okay. I think we've got her. Like I say, when I get done and get it cut off, then I'll just have to run the tap through again just to make sure that it's going to be okay there. Yeah, looks good. And then our nut is going to be right about there. So we've got to cut this shoulder here on this end. So that's what we'll do next. Okay, I think that should be our dimension. 706, right on the money. Okay, now we'll, I made that just a little long, I think, so I'll trim down the end just a little bit. old cutter off. This should be the right size for our hex. A little further out than I ought to be probably, but seems like it's cutting all right. Let me get my catcher hooked up here. Lots of oil and very rigid on our setup when we're cutting like this. Should be getting close. There we go. Okay, I've got this hexagon adapter here that this is 5C collet in here, and I'm just clamped down on there, and as I cut this, I can just move it from flat to flat, and it should equal the same as the nut, as long as I put it in the same way every time. And the way I set this up to make sure my depth is I actually took the nut that I have, the factory one, put it in here and set my depth. So it's certainly not any super black art or anything like that. So all we should have to do is cut our 6 flats, and it should be our 22 millimeter hex nut. And let's see here, I just need to kind of get as close as I can. Nope, I'm gonna have to speed that up a little too. Get a little more light over here maybe. All right, let's see what we do. Trying to get you a little closer here. like I need to go a little deeper. I think that's just folded over. Let me see if I can just flake that off. Yeah, I'm gonna need something a little bigger than that. There we go. I don't want to get too far over by my collet and hit it. All right. Okay, so now all we need to do is just loosen this up and go to the next one. And do it again. Actually slowed that down a little bit. It seems like it helps it cut a little better. Okay, so there's our hexes. Now I'll just clean this up a little bit. All right, back over at the lathe here, we'll just put a slight taper on the edge here. Let's see, where's the original? Similar to this one, just a little edge right here that we take off. I have no idea what angle that is. We'll just try this. It looks like it might be all right. I think we'll stop right there. Actually, I think it's supposed to catch a little bit of the, yeah, a little bit. Let me take another one. Yeah, we'll call that good. I think it's supposed to be a little steeper angle than what I've got, but that should do it the job. Just don't want to screw it up at this point. And we'll just go ahead and chase that thread now to make sure that it's a good thread all the way through. Yep, needed a little bit, last thread or two. There we go. So here's our new nut, and there's the original one. We'll have to plate this, and it fits the washer. This is the original, and then our newly made one, just like it. So now we've got to make our washer. We just check the fitment here on the crankshaft. Yep. So the nut's good. We'll just plate it and we'll be done. Let's spin out a washer real quick. This is just a little bit bigger hole. Well, quite a bit bigger hole. Okay, I'm right up against the piece at the end here that we just finished, and I'm going to back that up. And the thickness of our blade is 0.087. So we'll back that up and then move that in. Okay, 8.7 right there. I'm sure that's right, but I want to check it again. It's been a while since I've, yeah, 0.087. Okay, and then the thickness of our washer is, we'll just call it 80, 0.80. So we'll zero that out again and go up to 0.080 right there, and then lock our table down and start our first cut. Okay, now before we go ahead and sever it through, let me find my file. We'll just deburr that edge and the inside edge. And take care of this one on the inside, so that way we'll just have the one inside one from the cut side that we'll have to deburr. You get my catcher up there. Let's see if we can finish it up. There it is. Okay, so since I'm all set up, I'm going to cut one, maybe two more. Well, we got three more out of that. Or two more. Total of three. Okay, I just cleaned off my surface plate, and we'll go ahead and tape down a piece of sandpaper here. This is 400 grit, wet and dry. And if you remember, I used to do this on a piece of glass, and I was able to find a reasonable priced surface plate, one that wasn't so big, and I bought one. So it's makes it a little easier because it has some weight on it. You know, the plate has weight, so you're not fighting, chasing it around. So this helps. So we just put a little soap and water on it. And before we go too far, let's see, what color do you like? How about some green? I'm going to put a little green magic marker here on it. Okay, so we've got that kind of, I can see a couple little divots and stuff. Of course, that probably isn't going to come out, but we're looking for flatness more than anything. And we go both ways. And just the weight of the cylinder is all we need. Let's take a peek and see how we're doing. Yeah, I think this is going to be just fine. Yeah, almost off already. Just go add a little bit more. Let's put some more soap and water on it. And a little equal opportunity here. We'll put some blue on this one. And just kind of clean that one up a little bit. Put some fresh soap and water. Okay, we've got a little unevenness here. It's a little bit low on this corner here, so we'll keep at it until we get it cleaned up. Okay, we're just a couple minutes more on it, and we're still just a little low around this bolt hole and right out here at the edge. I'm sure it would be fine at this point, but I'm going to go ahead and see how much more I can get out See if I can get it as good as I can get it. Okay, I think we're done. Here's how our cylinder turned out. Like I say, there's a couple little divots up here where something dropped on it or something, but everything looks okay there. And the head turned out real nice. Again, there's a little bit of a divot there and right here, and a little here, but all in all, the gasket is going to seal, so shouldn't be an issue there at all. It's good to check that kind of stuff. And we've got one more nut and 3 more washers, and I've got the washers I made for the head bolts, these here. And I'll be doing some plating because I want to replate all these. A few other little pieces, parts here, and of course these were the old head washers, pretty pitted. They had to work just fine, but you know, you go to this much work, you want to replace stuff like that. And while I was at it, I went ahead and made a bracket here to check the top dead center on this model. I didn't have one. I've got one for the, I think it's 73, where they put the 6 bolts up here for the head. 72 I think may have been on its own, I don't really know, but this is 72, and the head is bolted down with the same bolts that hold down the cylinder. And I think in 73 they went to the 6 bolts or studs that go on the cylinder, and you put nuts on those to hold it down. And this would be the proper standoff for it. You just set that on one of the head bolts and you're able to check it. This one here, I didn't have one, so I'm just, my dial indicator will go in here. I can tighten it up so it doesn't move. And the head bolts, I'll probably have to put a washer underneath here and probably one under the head too, but that'll get this out where we can check the top dead center when we're doing the timing. Because on these, you know, the plugs are at a ridiculous angle, so you just really can't get a good, you know, a do on your timing with, or trying to check top dead center with this at such a angle like that. So anyhow, we are good, I think, for a while. I will get on this. I'll probably film a little bit of it. I've had a couple people that asked me to. I've done some in the past, but I'll probably do a little bit of it and just include it with another video. Okay, one other thing here. I was talking about the size of the piston the other day, where it's smaller at the top and larger at the bottom. And I had somebody else ask me again about that, and the reason is because of the unevenness of swelling that these pistons go through. Of course, you're looser up here. I believe we were about 13 thousandths. Yeah, 2780, and then down here 2797. Yeah, so the reason that it's that way is that this is going to heat up quicker, and there's more mass here, so it's going to grow bigger because the spark plug's hitting here. So the top of this is it's going to swell slower, but it's eventually going to get bigger. That's why it appears to be loose here in the top in comparison to the skirts that are just barely, probably won't hardly even go in there. There you go. But that's the reason, is because you're getting, the spark plug is firing right here, and you're getting the fuel charge, and this is a lot bigger mass here. This is thinner out here. So that's the deal. All that, it grows at a different rate. But when we check it, Yamaha tells us to check it. Suzuki's the same way. You check it about a ½ inch or so from down here. I think it's actually 3/8, 10 millimeter if I remember right. And generally you measure just above the exhaust port. I think it's like 5 millimeter, I think, is what Yamaha said to do here. Check it 5 millimeter above the exhaust port, and then that is where your clearance comes in. Your clearance is here, and down, right in here at 5 millimeters above the exhaust port. Okay guys, there you have it. We checked the flatness of our head and our cylinder to make sure those are going to seal up good. I didn't show it, but I made the tool to check my top dead center on this model. And I didn't also show when I made the head bolt washers. Like I said, they're wanting almost $6 a piece for those when they're getting $6 a piece for the bolts that I can understand. So I'm cheaping out there and making my own. And I did go through making one nut for the magneto, the flywheel hold down bolt, and 3 washers I think for that. But those are very, very expensive if you can find them, and kind of hard to find. Generally, if you buy a flywheel or a rotor, you're not going to get one. Even a used one, for some reason they don't like to include those. So, but they are pretty easy to make. You can just do it the way I showed you there if you've got a mill or a mill and a lathe. But it does require some time. It does require special equipment. So I'm making mine. So if you need one, you can find it. So hey, thanks for going along on the ride, and we'll see you next video.